Hey guys, I'm Miss Bharo and this is Invoque. Today's topic is on styling. When do you as a photographer know when to take on styling by yourself? Now, it's often easier just to ask the model to bring her own wardrobe to the shoot and do a style shoot around her wardrobe. That way you are not sourcing a wardrobe, you're not trying to make that wardrobe fit on a model, and there's none of those kind of little issues with that. I also find that a lot of photographers often don't know creatively how to style. It's quite a different type of game than shooting and editing because it takes a different type of creativity. So often we don't know how to style and we don't know how to style according to body type and things like that. So it's easier just to stay away from it. But the problem with not styling your own shoots is that when do you have the creative freedom and creative expression to really have a shoot that matches your specific look or something that you would really like to do. I once heard a podcaster say that you're not a creative if you do creative work for money. She argued that creativity and being a creative is only really true, authentic creativity when you take on personal objects in your own time. Styled photography is a great space for that. It's really about finding your own unique voice and playing with those ideas. Thus today I'm using my own little acronym that I've created called P.I.P.O or P.I.P.O, and it's about the do's and don'ts of styled photography. A styled shoot can make the world of difference to your work. And styling is about all the small details and how that comes together in a greater kind of story. You have to take styling seriously. It has to be done with purpose. And that brings me to my P, purpose. Purpose starts with the basics, so do start with the basics. Define why you are doing the style shoot. Are you doing it to enhance your portfolio? Are you doing it to build relationships with other vendors in the industry? Are you doing it to submit that body of work for submission to a publication? Or are you just doing it creatively to see how you can push your own boundaries creatively? But defining that will help you in setting a tone for your shoot. Even if it's just for yourself, you are likely to bring in other collaborators. And that also needs to be of value for those collaborators. Even if it's for publication, you need to do it in a specific style that matches that publication. Lots of word jumbles today. Do plan your shoot with purpose as well. That way you have a plan of action in place and you're making sure that the shoot will run smoothly. Purpose will be present in the entire acronym of P.I.P.O, so keep it in the back of your head. Once you have defined why you're doing the shoot, you might want to get on to planning the idea or get on board on what type of theme, what type of shoot are you going to be doing. That brings me to inspiration, the I of P.I.P.O. Do be inspired by your surroundings. This is an everyday practice. The reason it's an everyday practice is because the best ideas often come at really strange times, like 5 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. You need to be open to what the world can offer you. You need to be inspired. So do carry a notebook with you or make voice notes or jot down notes on your phone if you can. That way, when you have an idea, don't let it go. Let it come to you and make sure you remember it. As to the time when you're actually planning your shoot and getting an idea for it, also use things like Pinterest and Instagram or general web browsing in order to be inspired and collect information. Do create an inspiration board for yourself. That way you can put all those parts that have inspired you into one visual or one collective and see what you can pull from that. Don't copycat other artists. Now, that being said, it is very difficult to be original, but I also find that the best ideas come from merging concepts together. Now to the second P, planning your shoot. Remember what your purpose is for the shoot, because You might be doing a style shoot in a wedding style, but that's not the same as a wedding job. At a wedding job, your purpose is likely to capture memories within a specific style. With a style shoot, there's more creative freedom. You're not capturing memories, you're capturing more of a story, and you're in control of creating that story. When you're planning your shoot, you'll likely choose vendors. Do choose vendors very carefully. You guessed it, choose your vendors with purpose. The vendors you reach out to need to be vendors that you like. They need to be vendors whose work inspires you. So you need to be able to see in whether you can work with them or not. If you're just choosing vendors randomly or choosing too many of them, there might be a time where maybe 6 say yes and then you have to turn some down. Or there might just be situations where you're not really working well together because your styles are very different. So plan carefully. How do you approach vendors? Do be specific when contacting them. So the first step is to be very clear in what you're offering. Do offer something of value to them. This is not about you, so don't be selfish. This is about a collaborative project, and as much as you want to get amazing images from it, your vendors also need to be satisfied. So do offer them something of value. That can be the high resolution photographs. If you're getting a video vendor on board, it could be a video that's been created as well. And remember, do build relationships. Good communication is key. So remember, the more you communicate and are open and clear with them, the more they understand, and it's likely that they'll have a good experience from that. When emailing vendors, do offer to meet with them to discuss the details. And do send a vision board to them. This is not necessarily your inspiration board, but it could be a more concise and clear little board to show them what your intention is with the shoot. Do ensure that your vendors know your work and like your work. When you're organizing an entire shoot like this, and you're shooting with a specific plan of action, and you get to the shoot and the vendor might not be familiar with your work and realize that you're not just a random photographer photographing their work and your style is not matching their brand or product, they might have issues with the release of the photographs. So don't let your lack of communication hinder the release of the photographs. You are organizing this event, so it's up to you to guide them. This leads me to the O in PIPO, organized or organization, whatever you want to call it. So this is not planning. Do be organized. You can plan things to death. That doesn't mean you're organized. You can plan all the vendors, ensure that all the vendors are there. You can design a beautiful type of idea and concept for the shoot. But when the actual shoot happens, things can go wrong. Think of it this way. You're a conductor and the vendors, they're the orchestra. And it's up to you to lead and guide them to have an enjoyable experience. That way the story sings. Do set the tone for the shoot. Okay, this is part of the organization. They will follow suit if you're setting the tone. And that's where you do it in the organization of the shoot. It's up to you to offer support and answer questions of vendors. You need to be attentive and available to your vendors. I know it goes really mad, crazy, hectic at a style shoot. You're clicking away, you're looking for positions, you're framing things, and then when a vendor comes in and stands with a cell phone in front of your shot and you need to ask them to leave, it makes you irritable. It also makes the vendor irritable because now they feel like they're just doing something for social media quickly, and now you need to be put in the position where you ask them to leave so that the shoot runs effectively and timelessly. You need to eliminate things like that happening. Do offer suppliers a space to relax. That way they're removed from the space. No mishaps can happen if you've set a dedicated space. Do set boundaries. It's okay to set boundaries. We do this so that the shoot runs smoothly. What type of boundaries can you set? So do send out release forms. This doesn't just pertain to the models, it also pertains to the vendors. They can just as easily say, we don't want those photos published because A, B, and C. So have release forms and let your vendors sign those release forms. It's very important. Do control who is allowed on set. As a rule of thumb, I send out a kind of set list, and you need to ask permission whether you can bring someone along. Another rule of thumb, no partners and no parents. Partners and parents do influence how model poses. Now, there might be instances where partners and parents lighten up the mood and it actually helps the model pose better. But in most cases, I find that leave them off of the set. They shouldn't be there. It's just a professional job like everything else, even if it's a collaboration. Do eliminate situations that are beyond your control during the shoot. So if you organize this beforehand, it will ensure that those things can't happen. You can't obviously cover everything, but it does make the general shoot go smoother if everything is organized according to a set of boundaries. Here's a shocking example. I've been on a shoot before where I did the whole styling of the shoot and I organized everything, and a vendor came and brought their own photographer. Now it just leaves for a difficult situation, so set boundaries and be okay with that. People will take advantage, but it's up to you to organize it well enough that people can't take advantage. Another small thing you can do is to visit the location beforehand. That way you're prepared on the day. So if you visit the location beforehand, you can look out for specific positions where you can photograph, and you can also look at the lighting conditions properly and make a decision beforehand on what your intention will be on the day. Do ensure that you send the models for fitment. That way the outfits fit properly on the day of shooting. And I also find that the vendor that I've chosen and where I go send the model for fitting to, they see it as me taking them seriously and they work seriously. So they generally don't have an issue with it and actually enjoy it. And that is PIPO. P for purpose, I for inspiration, the other P for planning, and O for organization. So there might be many other little things that come into play, but just remember to be prepared. That's the big thing. And PIPO allows you to be prepared and also follow a specific theme and idea, and that way you know you're on track. Have fun, learn new techniques, push the boundaries, and if you're not able to capture specific details, remember you can always offer an extended relationship to that vendor if you didn't capture that thing. So don't take it too seriously, but also take it seriously. So it's about balance. And some of my favorite photographers are some of the best kind of styled photographers. They don't do a lot of styling, they just do styling within the portrait. So they'll be doing styling of hair and makeup, and they'll bring in dress and accessories, and that's what they go with. So two of those photographers that I do follow are Amanda Diaz, which I found recently, and then Irene Rudnick. She's another YouTuber as well, but she has really cool videos on how-tos and things like that, and that's often helped me a lot with my own styling. So even if I haven't used collaborators, I've kind of used ideas like that. When I did my floral crown shoots and also when I did the headgear shoots, I basically made my own floral crowns, and I also made my own headgear pieces for that one specific shoot I did. So you can do your own styling. It's just about finding an idea and going with it. And the idea essentially that I had for the headgear one was to use tattooed models and use a fashion inspired kind of architectural creations as almost fashion but not really fashion, and bringing that into the tattooed look, so having that contrast going. So if you have any questions, do let me know in the comments. I do like making these videos, so give me ideas if you have specific ideas. I also have some cool stuff lined up for April, so be on the lookout for that. And you can follow me on Invoque to get your weekly kind of inspiration when I post. That's on Instagram and Facebook. And then evoke your creativity by being inspired.